Michael.
Yeah, so this is Michael, our green iguana, and you usually see him in the Wildlife Lodge building with these saki monkeys. So he is part of their little family. He's also referred to as Uncle Mike because he is the most patient iguana with the baby saki monkey Clementine. Clementine's really kind of grown very fond of him. She'll pull food out of his mouth. She'll pick off his dead scales. She'll even swing by his really, really long tail. And Michael doesn't mind even one bit. So he's kind of in their family. And so Michael is an herbivore, or more specifically a folivore, which means that he eats a lot of foliage. Most of his diet is leaves. So in the wild, he'll live up in the tops of trees, and all day long he'll be munching on a lot of different leaves. But here at the zoo, he gets a really, really diverse salad. He'll get a lot of collard greens, he'll get romaine, dandelion, mustard greens. So about 80% of his diet is greens. The rest of his diet is fruits, a little bit of vegetables, and on some really rare occasions, he'll eat some flowers. He loves dandelion, hibiscus flowers. He's a flower boy. So these guys are native to Central and South America, as well as the Caribbean. And they've kind of made their way up north into the Florida region, and they're actually invasive there. So they're invasive for a couple different reasons. Number one, people who have them as pets, they are able to be pets, but they're very high maintenance. They require a lot of space. And as you can see, Michael is really, really long. They can be about 6 feet long. He's actually on the smaller end as far as male iguanas go. Males are going to be a bit bigger than females. But they can be about 6 feet long, and that's a lot of space in a home. So people who can't take care of them, once they get to a full size, they'll just set them free. And in Florida, especially southern Florida, it stays pretty warm down there. So iguanas can live there all year round. And their population can grow really, really fast. Iguanas can lay up to 71 eggs. So if you think about one iguana laying 70 eggs, and then you think of a bunch of iguanas laying 70 eggs, that's how they become very, very invasive. The other way they end up in Florida is they can actually swim there from Caribbean islands such as Cuba. If you look at this really, really big tail again one more time, it serves as a really big paddle. And he'll basically use this to swim. Iguanas don't really even need their arms and legs to swim. They kind of just dangle like a crocodile. There you go, bud. So they'll use their legs or they'll use their tail rather, and they'll kind of paddle as far as they want. They can even hold their breath for about 30 minutes at a time. So if you look at Michael right now, you'll see that big fan under his chin that's puffed out. That's called his dewlap. And his dewlap can get big for several reasons. One of which right now, he's kind of a sassy boy. So that's one of their defense mechanisms, kind of saying like, hey, be careful, calm down, maybe take a step back. But he'll also use it to regulate temperature. He can kind of disperse his heat a little bit easier that way, and also he'll use that nice big dewlap during mating season. He'll puff it up really, really big to get all the lady iguanas to pay attention to him. So as you can see, our green iguana isn't exactly green. He's actually a really pretty bright orange. And green iguanas can actually come in all different colors. They can come in a dark red, kind of like a brick type of red. They can come in this orange color like he is. They could be light green, dark green, even a bright teal or a blue, which is super pretty. And not only can they come in different colors, they can actually change their colors too. So Michael, when he first woke up this morning, he was kind of a light green, but he has been outside for a little bit, so he's gotten some of that fresh air, a lot of that sun, and he kind of turns bright orange when he's in the sun, especially when he's warm. So he can change colors based on his mood, as well as how outside and how much sun he's been absorbing and reflecting. So if you look at right underneath his eyes, he's got two one on each side, those big little pouches right there. Those are called jowls. And that's one of the big differences between male and female iguanas. The males have bigger jowls. It's kind of similar to their dewlap, so it's another one of those features to say, hey ladies, look at me, I'm a big, strong iguana. And they use that to kind of catch their attention. And it's one of the things lady iguanas will look for. So if you look a little bit at his tail as well, it gets a little bit shorter, kind of abruptly. And what that indicates is that at some point in his life, before he came to us, he actually dropped his tail. So iguanas are one of those lizards that they can just drop their tail at a moment's notice if they feel threatened or in danger, and it will grow back. It's a little obvious that it does. It's never perfect, but they can grow their tail back because it's really, really important to them. That really big, thick tail is important for balance because, like I said, they climb in trees. They live most of their life in trees, actually, so they need that really big tail to balance their body. They'll use it for swimming, like I said, and they'll also use it for defense. So that really long, thick tail, they'll use it to tail whip, and that's one of the ways that they'll kind of shoo predators or iguanas trying to take their territory away. So they're very defensive. They can be very defensive animals, and that tail is super, super important.
So, Dani, yesterday we met Rodney, the African savanna monitor, and we learned that he really likes to dig in the ground. He's a burrowing lizard. And we know that Mike here is a little bit different because he's more of an herbivore, whereas Rodney was a carnivore. They live on different continents, but does Mike like to dig, or where would you normally find Mike hanging out?
So Michael is not a digging lizard, he's a climbing lizard, so he is arboreal. And one of the biggest indicators of that is if you look at his toenails. While Rodney had really blunted toenails, they were long but they were blunted, Michael's got pinpoint, very sharp toenails. And he needs those very, very sharp toenails to use as traction so that he can climb up trees very, very fast. In the bayou, in the Wildlife Lodge, we have a few trees that are actually made of cement, and they're relatively smooth, but thanks to Michael's really, really sharp nails, he can skitter up those smooth concrete trees with ease. So they're really important they're really important to climb to the very tops of trees, because the very tops of trees are where all the leaves are. So that's where he has his home, that's where he gets his food. He's not really a digging lizard.
Pretty awesome. So, I mean, I noticed he's wearing a harness right now. Do you take him for walks?
I do. So I have trained Michael to get into his harness. He's a really good boy about it. However, you can see that harness is a little bit baggy. It's actually a hand-me-down harness from our Kawadi Lois. So as many baggy hand-me-downs are, it's a little bit big, but he does like to go on walks outside. I'll try to take him outside a few times a week, and I'll get some nice sun. See, he found a little sunny spot right now. So I'll let him take some walks outside. He'll eat some grass, he'll eat some dandelions, he'll play in some mulch, and he has a whole lot of fun being outside.
That's pretty awesome. And so he's a reptile too, so he really relies on the sun, right, to stay nice and warm.
He is, yeah. As you can see, he kind of shuffled over to that sunny spot because he was really drawn to it. So as an ectotherm, he can't create enough of his own body heat, so he needs it from the outside world. So when he finds a sunny spot, he'll go to it to warm himself up. It'll give him a lot of energy, it'll make him hungry, it'll make him move nice and fast. And then when he gets a little too warm, he'll kind of move into the shade and cool himself down.
That's awesome. So it looks like we have a bunch of questions coming in, so why don't we go ahead and start answering some of those. So it looks like Owen and Tyler want to know if he has any family members here at the zoo.
So at the zoo here, he was kind of adopted by the saki monkeys that live in the wildlife lodge, and they like him a whole lot. He lives really, really well with them. Sometimes they'll steal his food, sometimes he'll steal their food. When I need to take him out of that exhibit, to give him a bath, to weigh him, to take him for a walk, the monkeys will actually get a little upset with me for taking him from them.
That's pretty interesting. So Evangeline wants to know, does he have teeth?
He does. He has a lot of teeth, and his teeth aren't necessarily long, but they're very short and they're very, very sharp. So his teeth are meant to tear and shred. They're meant to grab leaves that are stuck on trees and to tear them right from the tree. So his teeth are very, very sharp.
So it looks like Jen wants to know, does he eat red seaweed like the marine iguana does?
So I wouldn't say he eats red seaweed. He's not really found in areas where there is red seaweed. So marine iguanas love to be in the water. Michael here loves to be in the tops of trees. So he'll eat other red plants that he might come into contact with, but he doesn't run into red seaweed very much.
So Liam and Ronan would like to know, what exhibit are you inside at the zoo right now? And also, do they make any noises?
So right now we're in the Trail of Jaguar building. Michael has frequented this building a bunch during his walks, and he likes it. He likes the little sunny spots that it gives. And what was the other question?
Does he make any noises?
Does it make any noises? So he doesn't make a ton of noises. Reptiles often communicate with body language rather than vocalization. However, if he gets really, really upset, he'll hiss a little bit.
All right, so it looks like Peyton wants to know if they can slap their tails.
They can slap their tails. When they get upset, like I said, one of their defense mechanisms is to tail whip. So they'll wind their tail up really fast and then throw it at you just as fast, and it hurts quite a bit.
So it looks like Karis wants to know, why does he have spikes?
That's a great question. So he has, spikes are just part of his species. A lot of animals do have spikes. It can help with temperature regulation. But Michael has very, very tall spikes. It's as one of those features to really catch a lady iguana's eyes. So female iguanas are going to have a lot shorter spikes because they're not trying to stand out as much, but Michael has very, very tall spikes.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a mohawk. It's pretty sweet. I'm a little jealous. So it looks like Isaac wants to know what he likes to eat. And I know we talked about how he really likes flowers and all kinds of leaves and greens. Does Mike ever get any flowers or anything here?
He does. Thankfully, around the zoo, there's a lot of dandelions. So when I take him out on walks, he can get as much dandelions as suits his fancy. Once in a while, we'll get donations of hibiscus flowers, and he also really likes those. But he also likes a lot of fruits. He's really into bananas. He loves cantaloupe as well.
Awesome. So it looks like Valerie wanted to know, why do we have him with the saki monkeys? So like, what was our first? Why did we think they would go together?
So they are both South American species. So in the wild, they would actually run into each other on and off. And both the saki monkeys as well as Michael have a very herbivorous diet. So neither one of the saki monkeys don't eat iguanas don't eat saki monkeys. And they have personalities that complement each other. So they live with each other very, very well.
That's pretty cool. Looks like Zev and Asher want to know, how fast can they go?
So on his faster days, when he is a very solar-powered iguana, when he's been sitting out in the sun all day, and he doesn't want to go inside, he'll definitely give me the runaround, and iguanas can go about 20 miles an hour when they're going really, really fast. And sometimes when they run so fast, they actually will barely be using their front legs anymore. It'll mostly be just a two-legged iguana running.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So if, next time I head down to Florida, maybe next summer, right, if I see one of these guys on a beach, I should probably stay away, right? I shouldn't go bother him, huh?
Oh yeah, they'll definitely outrun you in a race.
All right, so it looks like Logan wanted to know, what are their predators?
So their predators would be, jaguars would be some of their predators, ocelots, which we have in this Trail of Jaguar building. But Michael has seen these guys often enough that he knows he's a safe boy.
All right, so it looks like Ian was curious, how does his tail actually detach?
So his tail detaches. It's kind of like,
It's almost like Velcro, right?
It
Doesn't
is.
It's kind of like, they're not super on there to begin with, right? Something like that?
yeah, correct. It does just fall off, and it is still vascular, so there is still blood in his tail. So when he does detach it, he will bleed, as well as the part that falls off will also bleed, and then it kind of confuses or stuns the predator.
That's pretty cool. So Marianne wants to know, what color is he when he's happy?
When he's happy, he turns the lighter shades. So he'll be either a light green or an orange. If he's in the winter, he stays inside because it'll get too cold. So he's not as orange in the winter, but he will turn a very pretty light green when he's a happy winter iguana.
So Gretchen was curious, kind of back to the tail. Gretchen wants to know, how many times can they grow back their tail, and will it get shorter every time?
So yes, it will end up getting shorter every time, because when it grows back, it doesn't grow back as much. I forgot the first half of that question.
No, that was it, yeah. So it looks like, how many times can they grow back? I don't know if there's an exact number, right?
I don't think there is an exact number.
Depends on how healthy he is too, right? 'Cause if he's not getting all those nutrients, it's probably really hard to grow that tail back.
Yeah, exactly. If he's not eating as much, it wouldn't grow as long. It wouldn't grow as healthy, as lengthy as it would. But you can see where his detached, it grew a lot more. So he is a very healthy iguana. So he was able to grow a lot of his tail back whenever he lost some.
That's pretty awesome. So Mia wants to know if he sleeps during the day or night.
He actually has a pretty early bedtime. His bedtime's around 4:30. He is diurnal, which means he's active during the day. And yeah, he has a pretty early bedtime. He climbs up into his tree. He does have a spot where he goes to bed every night. So he goes up to that part of his tree, and then he curls up, and by 4:45 he's out.
Oh my gosh, he's living the life. I'm a little jealous. All right, so how much does he weigh? From Crystal.
He weighs about 6 pounds. Iguanas in general, they can weigh as much as 11, even 14 pounds. So he's actually on the smaller side.
And Kate is curious, who is Mike's best friend?
I'm gonna be honest, I think I might be his best friend.
That's a pretty high honor. Poppy is curious if he has any hobbies.
Hobbies. Michael is a man of simple pleasures, but he does enjoy getting his food from fun feeders. So we give all of our animals a lot of enrichment or toys, and he actually will use some of the monkeys' toys that have food in them, and he'll eat from those. He's really smart. So he can work a good puzzle feeder to get some food when he's in the mood.
That's pretty cool. Gabe and Hadass want to know, how long can he live?
So in the wild, his lifespan would be about 10, maybe 11, but in captivity, it's almost twice that. It can be 19, 20.
And I know a few people are curious, when is his birthday?
His birthday is September 11th, and he was born in 2010. So he is 9 years old right now. I actually, last September, threw him a little birthday party, but this year he will be 10 years old.
Whoa, double digits. All right, so Erin was curious, do we have any other iguanas here at the zoo with Mike?
I really wish we did, and maybe one day we'll get a nice lady iguana for him. But currently, he is the only iguana that we have here.
And Zach wants to know, is his tail prehensile?
Only slightly. It's not super flexible. He can use it if he has to, very limitedly. It doesn't really curl. However, he does use it for balance. He'll use it as a little bit of a grip occasionally.
That's pretty awesome. It looks like Karis wants to know why they have legs like frogs.
That's a really great question. So you can see he has pretty thick thighs, and he uses those so that he can run, so that he can jump. But his legs are kind of the way that they are, so that he can climb up and down trees. So climbing down trees, it's really helpful that his little feet can turn around, so that he can climb down safely. Because he would normally be living in really tall trees, as high as 40 feet.
Dorothy would like to know if Mike likes to dance.
Does he like to dance? If he does, he plays it cool, and he doesn't show me.
And Judah wants to know, does he hibernate?
He doesn't really hibernate. They're not really in areas that get as cold to require any sort of hibernation. So he kind of stays active for just about all the year.
Yeah, and I know you said that these guys are invasive to Florida, but they're still found there. So what happens if Florida has like a really cold day? What happens to the iguanas?
So interestingly, there's a lot of reports actually on colder days in Florida. Iguanas will actually just drop from trees, or drop from wherever they're hanging out, because when they get cold, they slow their entire body down. So they're not hungry, they're not active as much, they don't move as much, just to save their energy to keep them alive. So when it gets really cold, and maybe like the wind blows and they're just very sleepy iguanas, they'll kind of just drop.
All right, so even though they don't hibernate, they definitely can kind of freeze or pause for a day if it gets a little chilly.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Zian would like to know if anything scares him.
So he is afraid of predators that he might see in the wild. He isn't scared of too much. He's a little head shy, to be honest. So he just kind of gets a little freaked out around his head.
All right, so no nose boobs.
No,
for
he's
him.
not a nose boob kind of a guy.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fine. Sounds good. Peyton wants to know, did his birthday party have a theme?
His birthday party did have a theme. I thought it would be most appropriate to give him a dinosaur-themed party. So he had a lot of decorations. I made him a really special salad on a dinosaur-themed plate. And he got treated with some prickly pear cactus on his birthday, too.
Ooh, that sounds very fancy. I might pass on the cactus for my birthday. Speaking of birthdays, it looks like Genevieve is turning 9 on May 24th. That's pretty close, Genevieve. Very cool. You and Mike will be the same age. All right, so it looks like Jay is curious. Ooh, are they good pets?
Maybe yes and no. So iguanas, you are able to have iguanas as pets, and to some degree they can be a bit affectionate. It took a while. It took about 2 months for Michael to trust me. 2 months for me to walk into the same room as him and for him not to get upset about it. But he does trust me now. But iguanas, they can be very temperamental. He does have a bit of an attitude some days. And they do require a lot of space. So they can, like I said, get about 6 feet long. And they require a lot of space, especially vertically, since they are arboreal. So they're not super great as house pets because they do require so much space.
All right, and it looks like we had a few people join us a little later, so they may have missed us in the beginning, but Nico was curious if he can swim.
He can swim. He is an excellent swimmer. So how he would swim, he actually mostly uses his tail to swim. When he's swimming, he can actually relax his arms and legs, and he'll use that really, really big, really thick tail as a paddle. And he'll kind of just paddle around. And he can swim underwater too. He can hold his breath for about 30 minutes.
That's so cool. And it looks like we have time for about one more question before we wrap it up here. Jennifer was curious, what's that thing on his chin?
That thing on his chin is called a dewlap. So if he'll puff that out on several occasions. So one of which is if he's a little nervous or feeling defensive, he'll puff that out as a warning. Another reason he'll puff that out is to regulate his body temperature, and also he'll puff that out to impress all the lady iguanas out there.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I mean, I had a lot of fun learning some more about Mike the iguana today. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. If we didn't answer your question, we'll be sure to pop on and answer anything else that you may have or are curious about. Be sure to stay tuned tomorrow. We have a whole different animal tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun. So thanks again, guys, and happy Thursday.
Thank you.